Welcome to question 6 of our Art Song question pack. When we were looking at question 3, I reminded you that it's not uncommon to find other examples of the genres that we have studied other than your set work in the exam papers. So this is the situation here. If you have a listen to track 5, you'll hear that it is most definitely not one of our set works. It is an unheard piece of music. Question 1 asks us, from which historical period is this piece taken? And it's quite obviously from the 20th century. I know it's very tempting to answer 6.2 by saying it sounds really weird, but that is not a good musical answer. You can say things like it is atonal, you've got complex rhythms, there's a really fragmented melody, there's lots of extended vocal techniques used, and there are extremes of dynamics. So again, please use the correct terminology when you speak about the elements of music. Question 6.3 asks us to suggest a feasible composer for this piece. And if you think back to our 20th century composers, those of them who wrote art songs are Alban Berg, Arnold Schoenberg, and Anton Webern. It was actually Schoenberg who wrote this piece, but any one of those answers would be acceptable. If we take a look at question 6.4, we're asked to first listen to track 6. And now we've got a tick box question. You'll often get these little tables where you're asked to tick a certain number of statements. I really want you to be very considerate about how you do this. This table, for example, contains aria and lied. Now, if you have a piece of music, it cannot be both of those things. If you were to tick both aria and lied, you would be throwing a mark away. So it's always a good idea to just find the answers that can't coexist. So here, aria and lied can't coexist. If a piece of music is through composed, it can't be strophic and it can't be in ternary form. So out of those blocks that I've now highlighted in pink, it would have to be one of those. It cannot be more than one of those things. We can also look at the accompaniment figure. Is it a chordal accompaniment or perhaps an Alberti bass? It wouldn't be both of those things. So let's have a look at these blocks, whether the music is through composed, strophic, or in ternary form. If you have a listen, you'll hear the same music repeating over and over, but with different lyrics each time, so therefore it is strophic. If we had to consider whether this piece was an aria or a lied, we would say lied, because an aria, remember, is part of a much bigger work, an opera, and you would expect to hear an orchestral accompaniment if this was an aria. Again, listening to the piece, we are not really hearing block chords, we're hearing the gentle toing and froing of an Alberti bass, that constant movement in the accompaniment figure. So here we would tick Alberti bass. And immediately that means we cannot have any of those other highlighted blocks because it would contradict what we already have there. We can also then think about what we don't hear if we're having trouble identifying another feature. So this piece is very definitely not sung by a bass voice. It's going much too high for a bass voice to sing it. We're also not hearing compound duple time. We've definitely got a 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and, not a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we can take compound duple time out of the mix. We also have a relatively happy sound, a major tonality, so we can cross out our minor tonality there. So definitely not minor. And if we think about a pedal point and sequence, we don't hear a droning note that continues throughout the whole piece. We have changing harmonies, so we'll take pedal point out of the equation, and we do hear some lovely sequences in this. So this is a bit of a balancing act to see what contradicts each other, and then making sure that you only tick one of those contradictory elements. You can also eliminate answers by looking at what you don't hear, and then you'll find the right answers that are left over. So please just be thoughtful about the way that you approach these table questions. You are more than likely to encounter a few of these in your exams. I hope this has been a helpful video. I will see you for the very last question, question 7, in our next video.